What is it? The Fast Times at Ridgemont High thing.
Oh, no, don't do a quote.
Learn it.
No.
Know
No.
it. Live it.
No.
But it's Judge Reinhold.
I don't care.
Whoa.
I'm Gen X and I do not care. No. No. No.
Come on, Mr. Hand.
No.
Yeah.
No. No.
Fine. Buzzwords.
What are they?
Well, every industry has them, and voiceover is no different. So let's talk about some of them. Victoria, what the hell is a hold?
A hold is when they pencil in the date, like this is when it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's between you and a couple others, casting, all the fun things. And they want to make sure that you're available for that session time.
Sure. So you don't double book or whatever?
Right. But I don't think it means you've booked it. Yes, it means you're in the short list.
Yeah.
But if you're not available for that hold, then...
Then you're not getting the job. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was the last one that I had, I think. It was between me and one other guy. They liked me a little bit more, but their other guy was... I heard his audition. I don't think I was supposed to, but I did. He was good. I thought he was better than me. But yeah, I got an avail check and then a hold, and then I booked it. But I hadn't booked it yet until after the hold, so they had to make sure that I was available that day that they wanted to record. Which, of course, I said yes. And even if I had to... Was that the one? I don't remember if it was that one or a different one.
So many.
I don't remember if there's not that many, but I don't remember if it was this one or a different booking because I had a couple right around the same time. I had to get a filling replaced. I lost the filling. And so I had to get a filling replaced that morning. I think it was this one. So I went to the dentist and I said, so I'm recording a national commercial later. Let's skip the Novocaine, okay?
And you said it just like that too, right?
Yeah. They're like, well, we can try.
The dentist said, don't worry about it. You'll be fine.
Right. Yes. My dentist was Steve Martin.
Exactly.
And I had to come home and feed Audrey. Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell us then. You brought up the avail. So what's an avail versus a hold?
So they're kind of related.
Yes.
But the avail is not saying, hey, we want you to hold this date. They're saying, are you available on this date? Right. So you're not booked yet, but you're in the final running.
Is this the same as shortlisted?
No, it's beyond shortlisted. Usually. So shortlisting is you've auditioned and you're among the top, 2 or 3 or however many you might book the job. And maybe they'll have a callback or maybe then they'll give you an avail check or whatever. But
and it is possible on that short list they'll pick a few just to get their avails to see if they're available.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then they'll then they take whomever based on that and put you on hold. Right. But it still doesn't mean you've booked it.
Right. You haven't booked it until you're told, you booked it. But yeah, an avail check is a good sign. It means like, hey, we're really, really interested. Are you available to record on, Wednesday or Thursday?
Well, it has that word check
or Monday
in
next week or whatever.
That's always good.
And you go, yes, I am.
Yes.
Unless you already have something else scheduled. Yes, you're available. And you figure out how to be.
Yes.
Duh.
Gotcha.
Sorry, not sorry. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Unless it's something you just don't want to do, I suppose. But
well, I mean, I had shoulder surgery scheduled at one point. I'm like, you should book out, which is another term. Booking out with your reps to let them know these are the dates you're not going to be available.
Yeah.
And that's usually not just for audition purposes, but you wouldn't be able to say that you're available. You can't be put on avail, and you wouldn't be able to hold that date because you've got a different commitment. So once you are on hold, and should you have multiple agents or multiple reps or any of that, put it on your calendar, your shared calendars. Let the other reps know, hey, I'm booked out because you're on hold for a project. So
sure.
Right.
But yeah.
Which, to a certain point kind of sucks because a lot of times you'll get put on hold for multiple days.
Yes. Oh, I've had them constantly move. Like, oh, we're moving it back a week. We're moving it back a week. We're moving it back a week.
Right. So it's like, well, I blocked my calendar for this and then you didn't do it. That kind of sucks. Yep. But at the end of the day, hopefully you still booked the job and you still get paid and it's all good. But you know, if you're potentially missing out on something else because you've said, yes, I'm available. And then it
because you
doesn't
blocked it out.
happen.
Well, and that's the
That's no
thing
good,
too.
but-
So on the on-camera world, and I'm honestly not quite sure how that works in voiceover, but I think there is this whole, it has to be done before a 24-hour window, because that actually did happen. Actually, they waited until day of to cancel the session, so I got paid the session fee.
That was going to
So
be
if
my
you
question.
yeah. And that only happens really if it's not something that you've booked on your own. So if
Right,
you booked
right.
something on your own, it's like if you haven't stated that up front, like you still owe me a session fee if we don't record this date because I've blocked it and I can't book other work, then there's, that's a problem. But if you have reps doing that for you, yes.
Yeah, that sounds like a topic of contracts.
Yeah, and it's probably a union thing mostly, right?
Mostly, but I think just across the board, if you have a rep working for you on union or non-union jobs, because they go through all of the, loops and hoops trying to make sure that you are available and you are, on a hold, and they're aware of that. And a lot of times when I have booked something, I have to let my reps know when the job is completed because they're not on, they're not with me in the session. So they want to know so that then they can go and follow up and do all the billing and like, was it over the hour? Was it longer than whatever the session agreement is on that contract? So it helps to have them looped into that whole.
Well, also it lets them know when they can book you for the next one.
Agreed.
Especially like in your situation where it kept getting postponed, they can't do anything with you during that.
And can I just say that one never booked because the pandemic happened. Yay!
So
yeah,
pandemic.
It was a national booking too, and it was it
who needs them?
kept moving. All good.
But you're not bitter at all. I get
Not
it.
at all. No. Does not have any headspace.
Not bitter, just a little bit disappointed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
Womp womp. Well, so how about audition terms?
Yeah, how about that?
ABCs and AABBCC. What are those?
Yeah, it sounds like this comes up when you're doing in your auditions, or it actually comes up even when you're doing demos. They ask you, give me 3 takes of something, the same line. Just give me 3 feels on it, and that's your moment to shine. That's when you do 3 completely different takes, different style of voicing, different speeds, just something different. They're not asking for impersonations, but it's ABC, 3 different takes.
Well, so you're actually talking about 3 in rows, which
yes, I am,
is a little bit different. So 3 in a row, like you said, it's they'll say for this line or for these couple of lines or maybe for the tag word, give me 3 in a row. And
Gotcha.
yeah, you want to do it 3 different ways, different tonality, different energy, different, enunciation or emphasis on different words or whatever it is. Obviously, it still needs to make sense within the context of the script. You're not going to, if you're doing like a little kid TV show thing, you're not going to suddenly have like some really super scary voice. That doesn't work. Yeah, I suppose you could, but they're not going to hire you again.
Was that a challenge?
Yes, I throw the gauntlet down and challenge you. But no, ABC, AABBCC, that's more of, especially in like animation, if you're doing multiple interpretations or versions of a character. So you've got like 2 or 3 different character voice options in your head. Often they'll say, if you're gonna give us 2 different takes on this character, do ABC. So do all the lines in one character and then all the lines in another character. Sometimes they want to hear character 1, character 2 on line 1, then character 1, character 2 on line 2, and character 1, character 2 on line 3. So that's the difference between ABC and AABBCC. I personally would still record them all together and then shuffle stuff around.
Right.
Because otherwise it's harder to maintain the character if you're jumping between characters.
Sure.
Agreed.
Obviously, that doesn't
Agreed.
work if you're doing it live in a session, but I don't know anyone would ever ask for that in a session. I think that's
I've
more
had them
just
say in session,
auditions.
all right, let's do this ABC T to B.
T to B.
Top
Never
to
heard that
bottom.
one.
No?
Oh.
They've actually said, okay, we're going to do we're going to do this
So they want 3 in a row of the whole script.
top to bottom.
Wow.
Yep. I mean, it's been a small little, it's more than.
Like a 15-second or something, maybe.
Yeah. It's not really extensive because otherwise it's like, I gotta drink in between. Thanks.
Right.
Not notice it's water again, guys.
It pays to be Seth MacFarlane.
I think it always pays to be Seth MacFarlane. Okay. Maybe.
Probably most of the time, yeah.
Yeah.
So can we talk about alts, by the way? Because
Alts, yeah.
Yes. So I actually had recently.
That's the abbreviation of Al's name, right?
It is. Wait.
There we go. Hey, alts. Or it's kind of, isn't it also a medication? Oh no, that's Taltz. Sorry.
What?
It's
Here we
it's
go.
a medication. Sorry. It's a pharmaceutical thing. There was a client I worked with, and they told me they had pickup lines at the end. And not pickup lines, because that means something totally different, by the way. Pickup line means something different to voice actors than it does to, let's say, parents. Because, that the pickup line is where you go through the school. Pick up kids. Yeah. But anyway, they said there were...
Hey, baby, can I buy you a drink? That's a pickup line, too.
Exactly.
The pickup line is for loading and unloading only.
Right. So
There's
there you
no
go.
parking in the pickup line.
Parking.
That's right.
But seriously, they actually sent me over a script and had listed alts, but said they were pickups. I'm like, no. This is additional text. And it meant that, my agent had to go back and say, yeah, this is more to record. Pickups would be if there were errors in the script,
Usually.
or if something was rewritten and we want to add something in there, let's pick up that line and do it again, right?
Yeah.
But it was really fun. It's like, these are called alts. These are, they were looking for alternate endings to a particular spot, and it's like that. You get charged. The client gets charged for that. It's not like unless you've signed a contract that says unlimited lifts, edits, and please don't do that. There's way too many contracts that say that.
Happens a lot.
Right? But there's a lot where they're asking you to record those alts, those alternate lines. So
yeah. Alts often show up in auditions, too, because they haven't necessarily settled on what the final text of the script is going to be.
Yep.
So they've maybe got 2 or 3 different versions of 2 or 3 lines throughout. And so, alts are the alternate versions of a line.
Yeah.
I've seen them when it's you've got a short script, 20 seconds, 15 seconds, and they're not sure how it's going to read. So the alternate is usually a shortened version.
Right.
The ending.
Slightly reworded. Yeah.
Sure.
And oftentimes what I see is they'll ask, read all the way through 1 time or 2 times or whatever, including alts. So, if it's like line 1 and then line 2 has 2 alts, and then line 3 and 4, read line 1, then line 2, then line 2 alt, line 2 alt, then line 3, and then line 4. And if it's 2 takes, then you do that whole thing again. I don't know. There's a lot lately that are just 1 take all the way through.
Yeah. Yep. Good times.
Not a fan.
And it's poorly punctuated.
It doesn't bother me. I often ignore the punctuation anyway.
Yeah.
Not that I'm
one
delivering my
paragraph.
lines like Shatner, but
that sounded like
I'll,
Shatner. Yes.
oftentimes
Did I say that out
I'll
loud?
gloss over a comma or meld 2 ideas together or whatever.
I always learned that punctuation is for suggestion only. So,
I mean, when it's written correctly, and it's not always, it defines the structure of the sentences, right?
It does.
So it's there for a reason. The commas give you a spot to breathe.
Right.
And define a list of things. And so obviously, if it's done right, the punctuation makes sense. But it's not always done right.
No.
So, caveat emptor.
It's written to read. It's not written to speak.
Often. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's not even written to read.
That's true. That's true.
There's definitely scripts that come through where you look at it and go, did you even read this?
Right?
Let alone read it out loud to see if it sounded okay. But did you even read this?
Yeah. Did AI write this?
Right.
Yeah.
Ad-libs, unscripted extras. We know nothing about unscripted extras.
Yeah, especially you. Everything you say is always scripted and on topic.
It is. It is.
100%. All the time.
All the
Al.
time.
All the time. It's a sprinkle of something special in the performance. Helps you feel alive. I feel alive right now.
Does it help you feel alive or help the script and the story feel alive? Maybe both.
To help the story be more.
If it's a dull script, I suppose it helps you feel alive.
Yeah. To help you sell your connection to the script. We've already spoke about coaches, but that's what they're trying to do. You're trying to be a part of the script, and that's what ad-libs do. They like the dirty. They people.
They like it dirty.
They like the dirty? That's all I heard.
We like the dirty.
Wow.
Well, people don't speak perfectly.
Video bar after dark.
I am proof of that. There's stumbles. There's little extra noises and sounds. That's all part of this.
Al just called himself a dirty old man.
I did.
And then he talked about noises and sounds. Well, okay.
I did.
Well, when you
Thank
get
you for paying
old, your
attention.
body groans and creaks, and there's extra noises and
Sure,
sounds.
there you go.
There's
which leads us to efforts.
Yes,
bag of
exactly.
chains.
Primarily an animation and video game thing. Efforts. Efforts are the nonverbal vocalizations that your character is making when they're taking an action, when they're lifting a big heavy treasure chest,
Yes.
or getting stabbed, or whatever it is, right?
Right.
Efforts. It's the extra sounds that they're not usually in the script. It's usually ad-libbed. There might be like a parenthetical that says, make a dying noise or whatever.
Which is why improv is helpful in this.
Yeah. Take
Medium.
an improv class.
Yeah.
Yes. Take
In
one.
order to know how to really
take a
do
whole
some of
bunch.
those efforts. Yeah. It's super helpful.
And there are workshops on that too, specifically video game efforts. There are workshops on that are fabulous.
Sound like a tree in the wintertime with no leaves, and all of a sudden someone cuts your branch.
What?
Okay, but do it colder.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Less leafy. No leaves. No leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of that.
Right. Oh man. Yeah. Sometimes the instructions that you get for just it's not even a human character. It is something completely made up, and it'll tell you what's happening
with your voice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You got stabbed by a knife.
That's in there.
A bigger knife. You got stabbed by a big knife.
And it's definitely on your left shoulder. So get it right. Oh, okay.
Yes, because
that's
you no
going to
longer
sound
have a
different than
right
my
shoulder.
Right. Exactly.
No.
So you're like, okay. Can we talk about ADR looping and dubbing?
Oh, yeah. That's something you know about.
I know a lot about the dubbing part of it, which I absolutely love. I call it karaoke.
It's not that much different than ADR and looping. They're kind of the same thing. Right?
True.
The difference being with ADR and looping, you're recreating the performance with the same or similar voice.
Right. So you might be doing a little bit of voice matching on those.
Mm-hmm.
Or the original person who did it is re-recording it.
True. Although a lot of times they've asked if I can voice match for a particular person. And and sometimes it's just doing those efforts, which is even funnier because you're like, yeah, does that sound like Jennifer Aniston getting shot? Okay. Yeah, I can do that. So this is a really weird thing on the left shoulder. But dubbing, I call karaoke for voice actors because that's basically what it is. You are taking a film that was in a different language, typically, and
or animation.
Or animation, correct. And now you're having to match it, at least with the lip flap or the mouth movements, time-wise, which is why I call it
Right.
like karaoke, because when you're watching a karaoke video screen or whatever that's called, you know when you're supposed to sing a particular line because it highlights.
Mhm.
Dubbing kind of does the same process. So
Right. They've got the little streamer of
much fun.
text
So
across the
much
bottom of the
fun.
screen usually. Yep.
yeah. Or a crawl, if you will.
Yeah. So the difference between live action dubbing and, say, anime, you're still matching the lip flaps, but obviously, like, speaking English lines for something that originated in Korean or Chinese is never going to look the same.
Right.
So then you're shooting for the time. Whereas with anime, they're shooting to actually match the lip flaps as close as possible, because the mouth is just, opening and closing, or, gritted teeth and whatever. But the translation for anime isn't necessarily the same words as the original anyway.
Right.
They're completely reinterpreting the story so that it fits. I mean, the people who do the translation for it are incredible, because they do it based on maintaining the same general overall story, but changing it so that in the new language, it looks as if it was recorded that way as best as possible. It's crazy.
Is because you brought it up, Victoria, you said voice matching. Would that be the same as recording the clean version of a movie that had F-bombs thrown in them?
Oh, sure.
When they wanted...
Yeah. That's still ADR. What does that stand for? I always forget.
Automatic dialogue replacement, which is silly because there's nothing automatic about it.
No.
Really.
Right. Although I don't think they do made-for-TV films anymore. Like, even stuff that is on the network, I'm hearing a lot of interesting language that wasn't allowed before.
There's still the 7 words you can't say. That hasn't changed.
I don't know. The 7 words?
Yeah.
That's another podcast.
You've seen Carlin's old thing about that, right? George Carlin's 7 words you can't say.
Yeah, and he says them all. It's great.
And he says them all.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But I think for the most part, too, with dubbing, they do try to stay true to the story, but it's not always. So, in particular, the one I was working on, there were some things that were said that couldn't be translated word for word. But you still want to make sure you can match the mouth as closely as possible, but it's more of that timing thing like you talked about. But there are certain things in our language, and this is across the board, no matter what language you're working in, that just don't translate, especially when it comes to idioms, right? Like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You say that to somebody in Korean and they're like, you're going to be arrested. Just, like, what did you do? You're going to jail for that. So, just those types of things that don't translate well. So you have to find an alternate way to say it so that it fits, but also within that time constraint. So it's fun. I love dubbing. Dub all day. What other kind of buzzwords?
ANNC and also AVO. They're abbreviations. Yeah. So ANNC stands for announcer. So
hey, how you doing?
Yeah. So it's primarily, and it doesn't mean announcer voice, but primarily in commercial copy, you will probably see for your lines, ANNC will be the abbreviation, or AVO, especially if there are other voice actor parts that are character parts, even if it's just like mom and sister, whatever.
Sometimes they say FVO or MVO.
Right.
For male or female.
If it's male or female.
Sometimes, And you may have to file label with such language.
Yes. Definitely follow the instructions for file labeling.
Please do.
Gosh.
Please do. All the time.
If you don't, you're not booking that job.
Yeah.
Because most casting directors will just throw it out.
Yep.
You couldn't follow that simple instruction. I'm not even going to listen.
Nope.
That's the things they're looking for. In this, as competitive as it is, I mean, they're almost looking for things to thin the...
say no.
To call the call.
Yeah. I mean, to a certain point, right? Like some casting directors, you'd hope that, like all of them, but some of them, like they really want you to book the job, obviously, right? But if you're blatantly failing at the simplest of things, like naming the file properly.
It seems like something so simple, and it is. So
it does.
Do it. And sometimes when you're in a session and they say, take a beat, what's that mean? What's a beat?
Hold on, let me take a beat. Okay, so taking a beat is just a brief pause. right? It's not a pause just for the sake of a pause. Usually it's motivated by some internal thought or a shift in your emotion or a shift in your understanding of what it is you're talking about or something. But it's a pause at the most basic. So when they say take a beat, it means just take a second, split second, think about what it is you're doing.
I've been told not to take a micro beat in promo.
So like don't pause at all, or don't just pause for a tiny fraction of a second.
Right. So for example, next on CBS. Next on CBS. Don't do the next on CBS. They want it next on CBS, like all in one, versus next on CBS. So it's kind of like this, no micro beat. Like, oh, okay, no micro beat. Done.
Yeah, well, because that's putting the emphasis on the wrong word anyway.
On next.
Right, because you're putting the emphasis on next, whereas if anything is getting emphasis, it should be CBS.
Right.
Which leads into billboarding. Billboarding is putting the emphasis on a certain word.
This guy's good.
It's like he knows what he's doing. It's amazing.
I mean, I made the list of stuff. I didn't make it so that it could be segued like this, but
see, well, that's
I did
improv.
got a skill for radio.
And I said improv. I've been to like UCB. Hello, duh.
So yeah, billboarding, especially in commercial copy, you will often be asked to billboard the product name or the manufacturer or the brand or whatever, right? And how do you explain it? It's kind of like a beat. There's different ways to do it. Probably most common is that micro beat and then hitting that word just a little bit more oomph.
I've heard them call it, give it a little zhuzh in session. Zhuzh? I'm going to zhuzh it up.
Zhuzh it a little bit. Hit the gas.
Okay. And then I've had a coach tell me, give it a little Hollywood. I'm like, okay. So it's just got to pop a little bit. That's all. But not like you're scaring your audience, right?
Right.
Don't scare don't make them jump out of their, chair while they're watching television.
Right.
Unless that's the point.
Indeed.
Maybe you're doing a Halloween ad and you want to get that jump scare somehow.
True.
I don't know.
True.
And if it's on the script, it's on the script. And the script is often called the copy. So know what you're reading. Yes, the copy, the script, the words, the dialogue. It's what you're reading.
Do we know why it's called copy? Does anybody know? Is it because it was like
probably
we're giving you
because
a copy of it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Probably.
But
because I know there's the term rip and read. You've heard that one before, right? It's like a cold read.
It's been a while.
Rip and read.
Yep.
Do you know where that one originated?
Take them off the...
It came right off the teletype. You didn't pre-read it. You ripped it off the teletype and you read it.
Yep.
And it's a cold read, which
I was going to say it came off the AP
is
wire.
The next thing on the list.
What do you know?
I'm blowing my own mind here.
See?
So cold read is reading a script without having previously seen it, previously practiced it. You just grab it, you go. And
if you flub a lot, what happens? What do you need to do?
Start over.
Or?
Profusely apologize?
No, don't apologize.
Well, if you've already read the copy, you're done with the script, you've delivered it, you've done your thing with a client. Now they come back and they want you to do some
pickups.
Pickups.
Yeah.
Which we kind of talked about already.
Sure.
Which is fine.
Look what you did.
Yeah. See.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I wasn't done with cold reads yet, but okay.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, cold reading. Go ahead. Let's.
I'm done now.
That was improv, folks. Just improving.
That was failed improv.
Ooh,
on my part.
Wow.
Because I didn't pick up the ball that you handed to me.
But see, there's another pickup. There you go.
Yes, and?
Yes, and.
So pickups, we talked about, yes. It's re-recording something where you screwed up. Usually it's not, hey, here's a bunch of new stuff for you to do. Although, if it's a pickup session, you've already done the main session. And now, after feedback from the client, maybe they changed some of the script, added some new lines or changed lines or whatever.
But you usually get paid for that session as well. It's not like a... I said usually.
I didn't get paid for my last pickup session.
Ooh. Shame. Okay.
Well,
anyway.
It was also a flat rate project. So there wasn't like a session fee or a usage fee. It was just,
gotcha.
This is the rate.
Okay.
So, and the director did say, in the pickup session, like, if they don't like this, they're going to have to pay more because we don't have it in the budget for you to do another one. Like, okay, cool.
Right.
Okay.
Or your pronunciation's wrong.
Yeah, that one sucks in auditions, right? Like, it's funny because sometimes you'll get pronunciation information, but then sometimes it's like, and obviously I'm not going to know how to pronounce this weird drug name.
Right.
Right. And you can't find it.
Yeah, if it's brand new, you can't go look it up. Right.
Like,
Yeah.
can I just call Pfizer and ask? No, you can't because, you signed an NDA too, just to audition. So.
Oh, my
Right.
gosh.
Like, you would
All right.
hope that they're going to give you pronunciation guides, but they don't always.
Right.
No.
And oftentimes it's something that you could probably figure out on your own. Like if it's something common, like a city name or something.
Right.
Yeah, the drug names are the tough ones.
They are. But it's funny. I've heard them on air and I went, oh.
And a coal read.
Oh, that's how you say that.
Oh, okay. I was not calling it that.
Oh, it's analgesic. My bad.
Oh, man. Okay. There we go.
Speaking of
favorite.
punching in.
Yeah. Getting a little punchy,
Yeah.
are we? Yeah. Okay. So tell us about that, Al. What is a punch in?
It's a recording technique.
It is a recording technique, and you should be familiar with it as a musician.
Yes, it's also often called punch and roll, which is related to it. It's in the re-recording. You could use it for, I've done it for pickups in long form, where you pronounce the wrong word. And then 6 months later, they send you your pronunciation list, and you have to go through the whole thing again and find the words and re-record them with the same feeling as you had months ago
Right.
before the check cleared.
Which, by the way, boys and girls, is why you use a non-destructive editor.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're recording that whole job over again.
Right?
Don't do
But
it,
it's also
folks.
really nice when they punch it in for you
Oh.
while you're in a recording session in order to get, so you can hear the delivery and you can kind of read along with it. So this has
Right.
worked in a variety of genres too. So even in dubbing, I would listen to the dialogue that was happening before they would punch in my lines, right? So it was that's kind of nice. Or you would do it if we were re-recording a section. I think Al already said that. You just kind of hear, wait, da-da-da-da, and you can read along with it because you know where you're going, and then you just keep rolling with it. So, nice.
Yeah, so usually there's a couple different ways that you can punch in.
Yeah.
If you're going back to just correct a mispronunciation or a small section,
Sure.
oftentimes the start and end of the punched section will be set.
Right.
So then when you hit record, it'll play back the however long leading into it so you can kind of get back into the rhythm and the cadence of the thing. And you just keep going and it records during that window. And when it gets to the end of the window, it starts playing again. So you've just replaced that piece.
Correct.
For musicians, it's like, oh, I flubbed that solo. I'm just going to re-record these 2 bars in the middle of, this whole section.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't sound like, and this program's sponsored by Mr. Black. Yeah.
Right.
You've never heard that? It's absolute worst.
I have
what
no
they
idea what
punched
you're talking
in-
about.
You don't?
No.
Yeah. What they punched in has no feeling to the rest of the copy, to the rest of the recording. It's like
It's
almost
just
like
vacant.
You hear stuff like that on PBS a lot. And it's different.
It's
It's
like-
not, I don't think it's a punch in it, but it's because like the such and such show is sponsored by
Oh,
was
right.
insert
pre-recorded.
company
Yeah.
name.
And then they have like all
Gotcha.
the new sponsors in a
Yes.
completely
Okay.
different voice or the same
Gotcha.
voice with a totally different feeling. And
Mr.
viewers like
Black.
you. But punch and roll, I can tell you about punch and roll.
Tell me about Punch and Roll, Will.
Yeah. I used it extensively on the audiobook that I did that had a final runtime of 11.25 hours. And I only had 7 pickups.
Oh my
7.
gosh.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So it still took me, I still averaged like 3 to 4 hours per finished hour when I was recording,
sure.
which isn't awesome, but it's not terrible.
Well, hey, Will, you don't suck at
Because
it.
of punch
so
and
that's
roll.
good.
Yeah, 7 pickups.
Apparently.
Mhm.
Apparently, you're really good at it. So,
Apparently, I'm pretty good at it. Yeah, I don't
Amazing.
know.
Read.
yeah.
Well, so the thing is, and this is weird to say as a voice actor, I don't actually enjoy reading
No, that's not, I don't enjoy audiobooks
so-
at all.
I
audio. Well,
don't.
I don't like the process of making them. It's a lot of work.
I like audio dramas. Yes, as an audiobook. Those are amazing. Love it. Yes,
Yeah,
please.
I
Sign me
don't
up.
enjoy reading, and I think it's because I have no pictures in my head.
Yeah.
Reading isn't a pastime for me.
It's
so
the best way to fall
seeking
asleep.
out audiobooks is not really high on my list, although maybe that'll change because I did pretty good on this one.
You did. You did.
Yeah.
And that's all thanks to Punch and Roll. So every time I'd screw up, which often was many times per page, often I would get maybe a sentence at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Been
I'd
there.
just back up to wherever the last good part of that was, wherever a natural kind of stopping point was.
Mm-hmm.
I'd set the playhead there and I'd hit my Punch and Roll record, which would then pre-play like 3 seconds or whatever.
Sure.
And I would read along with those 3 seconds and then keep going until I screwed up again.
Isn't it better than following the dog clicker?
Oh, yeah. Especially for something that long.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's no way I would not go through 11 and a half hours
Oh.
of plus all the extra time for all my screw-ups to find all the dog clicks and go back and edit. No, awful. Yuck.
terrible.
No, thanks.
If it's short form stuff, I don't see a reason to try and do Punch and
No.
Roll for like a 30-second commercial. There are people who do.
No.
I just
I don't.
can't imagine that it would actually save time
Yeah.
over
Yeah, Punch and
just
Roll.
let me
Right.
reset and record again, just keep rolling, record again, and then I go back and listen to it and I cut out the crap.
Yep.
Yep.
I don't even dog click. I just start over.
No, I
'cause
just-
30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
60 seconds.
When
Who
I
cares?
recorded that IFSTA's Firefighters Training Manual, 300,000 words, Punch and Roll changed my life.
Yeah, you gotta. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing longer form stuff without Punch and Roll. What is it? The Fast Times at Ridgemont High thing.
Oh, no.
Learn
Don't do
it.
a quote.
Know
No. No.
Live it.
No.
Whoa.
No.
But it's Judge
No.
Reinhold.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm Gen X
Come
and I
on,
do not
Mr.
care.
Hand.
No. No.
What?
Fine.
All right. There's an empty can. I'm running low on water. Last call. Anything?
Learn it.
Learn
Know
it.
it.
Oh,
Live
no. No. Cannot encourage these guys. No.
Seriously,
Okay.
you need to know the buzzwords so that when you encounter them on a script during an audition, or even more importantly, in a session, you got half a clue what the hell they're talking about.
Indeed.
True.
But ask. If you don't know, ask.
Sure.
Yeah.
What does that mean? But hopefully after the first time you've asked, you'll remember.
Retain it.
Write it down.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yes.
Retain.
Indeed.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Indeed.